What's up in the van, man? Happy Thanksgiving Eve. Tomorrow, guys, Lord willing and the creek don't rise, I'm going to be bringing you a very special Thanksgiving message. But I thought what I would do on our ride to work this morning is set the groundwork, because my message tomorrow is going to be illustrative, it's going to be informative, and I think it's going to give you a pretext to how you and I should start preparing ourselves for the eventuality that the United States of America is in a free fall. I made a comment several months ago. If you notice, I've been gently leading you and guiding you down the path that the Bible's true. I mentioned to you that I had been praying about bringing you a message in comparing Donald Trump to three very popular men in the Bible who died a failure. That was an illustration. It was a meditation that I was thinking about. But at the time, because of the immaturity and the fact that we're just not there yet, we're just not ready to throw away our MAGA hats, I felt like it was too premature to share with you that Donald Trump was going to die of failure. But I think now is the time. You see, the Holy Spirit speaks to me, and it gives me instruction and information, and sometimes I have to allow the culture, the context, and my flock to catch up, to receive that information. I don't want to exasperate you. I don't want to come across as a naysayer. But I think now is the time to give you the examples out of the Old Testament, how there were three men who died of failure. As we talk about Adonakis, I want you to write down that word. Adonakis. We're going to talk about the term Adonakis today in our ride to work. I'm going to give you a little Greek lesson. Let's talk about the three men who were mighty men of God who all ultimately died a failure. And that is the illustration that I want you to compare the modern men of God and how we have trusted, and how yet there have been some things that they have done that are good. We're not going to take that away from Donald Trump. We're not. But if you go back to the Old Testament, three of the greatest men who ever lived all died a failure. Number one, Noah. Noah was found to be the only righteous man on the planet. I mean, God destroyed the entire world and only saved Noah and his family. Think about that. Can you imagine if God was to judge the world today? This ought to scare you. It scares me. And if God was trying to find one righteous man and he was going to allow us to reseed the planet, everybody else had to die. Do you think our names would be on that shopping list? I don't think my name would be there. Yeah, Noah was a righteous man. He was. But if you recall, after the waters recede, his children came and found him drunk and naked laying in his tent. A lot of people don't know that story, but Noah died of failure. I mean, you would think after he saw what he saw for his entire life that he would be living in jubilation and in encouragement with his family, but no. What did he do? As soon as he stepped on dry land, he got drunk and naked. Yeah, nakedness was a sign of shame back then. The second person that died a failure, of course, was Moses, right? I mean, Moses, the one who combated Pharaoh, the one who led 2 million Egyptians or Israelites out of Egypt. He crossed the Red Sea, spent 40 years in the desert, right? No. God told him to strike the rock one time. No, he got angry, didn't he? He struck it 3 times. God cursed him and said, no, you're not going to see the promised land. To this day, we still do not know the exact location of Moses' burial site. Otherwise, those Hebrews down there in Israel, they'd be worshiping Moses' gravesite. Yeah, Moses died a failure, guys. He sure did. Wow. What a great man. Yeah. It's not how you start, man. It's how you finish. Who was the third one? Who was the third one that died a failure? King Saul. King Saul became so enraged with his own conceit, his own jealousy over David, that God had anointed David to be king of Israel. I mean, King Saul became crazy. I mean, this was long before antidepressant medication. I think King Saul could have used some Xanax. I really do. Yeah, he ended up committing suicide. Took his own sword and fell on it. Tried to kill David, hunted him down. David had to flee to a cave. King Saul was a great king, died a failure. So when you hear me talk about Donald J. Trump's going to die a failure, please don't get offended. Please don't act like that's an anomaly or that can never happen. It's never happened in human history. That's the problem with the ignorant world today, is they don't know their Bible. Which brings me to Thanksgiving sermon. Pray for me, guys. Pray for me. I hope there's time. I'm going to spend time with my family tomorrow. I am off. And we're probably not going to be doing a traditional Thanksgiving meal. I eat so much poultry, I think I'm going to start growing feathers. Might try to go pick up some steak. And depending on the price, I might try to find me a prime rib, put it on the grill. But in the meantime, I'm going to be bringing you a message tomorrow over how the New World Order is accomplishing its 10 goals. I'm going to be giving you point-by-point clarification in modern examples and real-time analysis to show you that if we put everything together, like we're trying to solve a murder mystery, God gives us clues. He gives us indicators. And I'm going to be showing you in this special Thanksgiving message that the New World Order has been working not only diabolically, not only in secret, but in plain sight. And when I bring this revelation to your knowledge, it's going to make sense to you. It's going to give you a context and a worldview that will help you understand that your responsibility right now, guys, my responsibility right now, is to continue to walk in faith. That's it. This is where we're at right now. We have to continue to walk in faith. This land is lost. It's over. Which brings me to the biblical context of when this happened. It's been going on for a long time. Thousands of years, this planet has been on a moral decay trajectory. Adonachmus. If you go and study Romans chapter 1, verse 28, you'll come across an event that Paul is sharing with the church at Rome, talking about how evil and morally corrupt that civilization is. I mean, apart from the Greeks, there was nobody more morally corrupt, spiritually bankrupt than the Romans. the greatest civilization of their time. Yes, I'm drawing an analysis. I'm drawing a comparison. We are modern day Rome. We are modern day Babylon. We most certainly are. We are no different than the Egyptians, the Babylonians, the Romans, and the Greeks. No, there is nothing special about how screwed up this country is compared to every other known civilization. I mean, they just had to strip the world title away from the world's strongest woman yesterday. They had to strip her title away from her. Why? They found out she wasn't a woman. And tell me, trust the science. So what does it mean? Atomachus. It means unapproved. God uses the term that he gave us over to a reprobate mind. It means to be unapproved. Worthless. Literally worthless. Something that you would discard. In the ancient world, you can go back to Jeremiah chapter 6, verse 30. Jeremiah compares this analogy to Judah. You know, back then, precious metals were sought after. And God uses a lot of these illustrations in the Old Testament and even in the New Testament, comparing us to a refining process. Precious metals, gold and silver. In fact, we will be tested by fire in 1 Corinthians chapter 3. The Bible tells us that in the day of judgment, the bema seat of Christ, that all of our works are going to be tested by fire, the refiner's fire, and that slag, that dross, is going to be removed. So only that which is of value, only that which has worth is going to remain. That is where the term Atomachus comes from. It's a metallurgical term, meaning that the metal has no value. And Jeremiah was comparing that to Judah in chapter 6, verse 30. He said, Judah's become worthless. Worthless, meaning literally impure. So, if the scripture is using that analogy, that our culture today, much as it was in Paul's day, in the book of Romans, well, preacher, how can you make that comparison? How can you be so confident that, you know, God is still using that same example and that same precept to us today in this culture as he was in Paul's day? Well, just go back and read Romans chapter 1, where Paul enumerates all of the moral depravity. I mean, the very first thing Paul talks about is how women have given over their natural state. Men have given over their natural state. I don't care how spiritual you are. I don't care how you were raised. You know, we always hear that term or that example or that context. Oh, I was raised to be a good person. A good person. Guys, in the last 5 years, I blame it on Bruce Jenner. I do. And Ellen DeGenerate. You know, they were the ones that started it all. Homosexuality, guys. Why are we celebrating homosexuality? What brings us to the state of impurity? Why is God telling us in Romans chapter 1 that he's given us over to do whatever we want to do? Why? Because we have taken our bodies and we have given them over to impurity. I believe, guys, I really do, and I know you're going to think that I'm some hellfire and brimstone preacher, but I really believe that when the judgment comes, whatever that day is, just as Noah was judged, just as Moses was judged, and just as Saul was judged, we're going to be judged. I really believe that America is going to be judged because of the besetting sin of homosexuality and fornication. I absolutely believe that. We are walking and living in deceit, and we are promoting immorality. That is the reason why God is going to give us over to that worthless state. So you see, for my white hats out there, for those of you that are hoping and praying that, we wake up and that we just put the right person in the White House, it's impossible. It's absolutely impossible. Guys, we don't have a political problem in this country. We don't have a financial problem in this country. We don't have homogenous problems. We don't have problems and tensions with Russia or China or Brazil or Venezuela. No. The problem with this country is that we are morally worthless. That is the problem. And that is the reason why I believe that the deep state is winning. Trump's going to die a failure. And there's no turning the ship around. So tomorrow, when I bring you this message on the 10 ways that the New World Order is succeeding, I want you to understand that my motivation here is to get you ready for the sixth seal. It's the whole reason why I started this channel. It's the whole reason. When they stole the 2020 election, there's been a couple of key events that have happened in my life. Primarily three. I would say there are three key events that I have absolutely been galvanized in my spirit that have convinced me that Revelation chapter 6 is true. Number one is when they shot JFK. Number two, 9/11. And then number three is when they stole the 2020 election. Yeah, that's when I became Black Pill. You put those three key events in American history together, and don't sit here and give me this hopium that we're going to turn things around. We're not. We're absolutely not. Washington, D.C. is a giant money laundering cabal. That's what it is. And I don't want to get ahead of myself in the Thanksgiving message tomorrow, but I want you to pray with me that God gives me the strength and the unction and the clarity to be able to present this information to you so that it brings truth to your spirit, but more importantly, not just the truth, but it brings you a consolation so that you can move beyond the disparity. You can move beyond the doom and the gloom, right? We can walk in confidence. We can look up at a sky and a sunset every single morning, and we can thank God that there's breath in our body, and we can enjoy our time here on this earth, because that pain and suffering eventually is going to end. Guys, spend the time that you have right now in this world with the ones that you care about, with the ones that you love. Take advantage of the time that God has for you right now to be a blessing to one another. I was talking to one of my subcontractors yesterday, and they have adopted an illegal family from years ago. And I almost started crying. I'm almost reluctant to share this story. This is how fresh and I've got scar tissue right now from listening to this story yesterday. In fact, I'm going to be sponsoring this child, this 6-year-old little girl. I'm going to be sponsoring her for Christmas if they don't deport her. It's hard for me to share this, guys. But I was listening to one of my subcontractors tell me that they have adopted a young girl, 6 years old. At the time, she was 4. 4-year-old little girl, and she's talking about how she was crammed in a truck where there was no oxygen. And she was jammed in that truck so tightly that she couldn't breathe. At 4 years old, she came to this country. Yes, undocumented. Yes, illegal. Absolutely. Not going to minimize that. But guys, she's a human being. And I'm listening to this subcontractor talk about how this little girl is so thankful to be in the United States of America. And we're sitting there having lunch together, and this person's telling me that this little girl from time to time walks up to her surrogate parent and says, "Do we get to eat today?" Yes. Really? We get to eat today? Yes. We get to eat today. I am sponsoring this little girl through a private donation for Christmas. I'm going to bless this little girl for Christmas. And I am going to surrogately adopt her. I'm going to take her under my wing financially. I'm not going to meet her. I'm not going to have any relationship or involvement with her. But I'm going to do my part as a Christian to help financially support this child. And I want to make sure that this child grows up and never, ever, ever has to say, "We get to eat today." Guys, God has given us over to the reprobate mind because of our immorality and our fornication. And the world is worthless because of our lack of responsibility and understanding that we had a moral obligation to live according to God's law. But we have failed. We have failed miserably. Guys, please pray for me tomorrow as I bring you this very special message. Till next time, be safe.